Raised to 2 inches, most likely. This is all areas.
Hey, Michael.
Hey.
How you doing? Cool.
Hey, Lori.
Hi, guys. How are you?
Good.
Doing good.
Good, good.
Some school delays. May not be that many. We will see how it plays out. Now, the rest of tomorrow, we'll talk about this for days as well, because I know.
Yeah, we're preparing for snow tonight. Probably 6 to 12 inches here, they're saying. So I don't know.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, I drove the snowplow truck home tonight. So leave at 4 o'clock in the morning, they said.
Wow.
So I'm ready for spring.
Oh, boy.
What is it down there? About 70?
Here?
Yeah.
72 today, I think. 74.
No, shut up.
But I was in Phoenix all weekend. I went to Scottsdale for the
Can't
golf
hear you
tournament.
guys.
Can you hear us?
Darn it.
You can't hear us, Lori?
You hear me?
Oh,
Let's see.
You hear
you
me,
guys
Lori?
hear me? Yeah, now I can.
We can
Okay.
hear you. Yep. You can hear us?
Thank you.
All right.
No.
Good. Goody, goody, goody. What's up, Lori? Anything new? Been busy?
Me? You say, Lori?
Yeah.
Yeah. No, our census has been down. That's a good thing, But then, like, I get canceled today for 12 hours, so I have to use my own PTO.
What?
Yeah. Yeah, you believe that? 12 hours, that's a lot.
They gotta make you use your own?
Yes. Isn't that crazy? I know.
That's so dumb.
Yep.
Hi, Carrie.
Hey.
How
Hi,
are
guys.
you?
Good.
Hey.
How are you doing?
Wonderful. Where is my sister?
Jason, you're from Oregon, right?
Yeah. Yep.
What is it? Snowy? What's the weather like right now?
They're supposed to get 6 to 12 inches. Where our house is 1,150 feet, and above 1,500 feet is supposed to be 6 to 15 inches, and
Wow.
I'm assuming we're gonna get 6 inches tonight. So they had me drive the snowplow truck home tonight. So I'll get up at 4 in the morning.
Awesome.
I'm
Very
ready
different from Tampa, where I'm at.
yeah. Yeah. Way different.
Has weather been good?
Oh, yes. So awesome. I mean, actually, it's the coldest winter we've had, but so I've gotten a lot of use out of my fireplace, which is super weird, but been very nice.
All right. Let's see. Portia, how are you?
I'm good. How are you?
Wonderful.
Jason, good to
I'm
see you
doing
back.
good.
Lori,
Yeah. Hi,
glad
Portia.
to have you.
I made it
Carrie,
this
welcome.
How's the weather in Binghamton right now? Is it freezing?
Warm.
Warm?
Yeah, it's not that bad.
51 today.
Okay.
Heat
Yeah.
wave.
Sun was out.
Yeah.
That's awesome. Well, I just texted her, but we'll get started. I don't know where she is. I haven't heard from her all day.
Michael,
Yeah.
when you how come I'm all blurry? Is it because of the lighting?
Your background screen.
I don't know how to do. What do I do? I don't know how to work.
You hit something. It's a background. You can blur your background. You can put Hawaii back there. You can put anything, but
Oh,
for
see,
some
I don't.
reason you have the background on blur, so it's just on you.
Oh, okay.
But we can see you.
Okay.
You still look good. You're not blurred. Just your background.
Okay.
You hiding something? You don't want us to see?
No, I'm just sitting on my, no, I'm in my living room.
All right. You're in your weed house, you're growing all weed in the background. You want to
Yeah,
see
right.
her out.
Oh, yeah, yep.
There she is.
Hello, everyone.
There
Sorry.
she is.
What's going on? Hi, everyone.
Coolio.
Hey, my sister.
Hi.
Look at all my beautiful faces. Hi. Hi, Carrie. Hi, Lori. Hi, Jason. Hi,
Hi.
Portia. Hi, Michael.
Yo.
All right. Hug a cactus. Let's do
Yeah.
this.
Listen, I was just in Scottsdale, Arizona for the last 4 days for the golf tournament and the football, and it was absolutely insanity the amount of people that were there. But it got me. Obviously, the cactus got me. I was over in the desert and got me thinking. I was driving the 6 hours it takes to get back and forth, and it reminded me of this thing a long time ago. I don't know if it was Mel Gibson, maybe. Long time ago. I don't know if anybody knows the story. He's like the guy that helped Robert Downey Jr. like come back, revive his career when he was a drunk and he was in and out of jail. Mel got him off it, got him into some faith, got him off booze, off drugs, got him a job, and then the rest is history. But at some point down the road, Robert got nominated for some achievement award, but he had Mel announce him because he wanted to thank him for doing that. But he said something, I think it was Mel's advice. He said something so long ago about hug the cactus. He's talking about like, that's what you have to do to face your hardest challenges. Like the ugliness of you, he calls hug the cactus. It's not going to be good. It's not going to be nice. You're not going to like it. You don't want to do it. But he talks about that, the analogy of that, it's going to be that painful to embrace or go after or face the ugliness of what you think is you. And I'm not even saying anything, his case, drug addict in and out of jail, this stuff. I'm talking about just minor things we have about ourselves that we really put a lot of pressure on ourselves about, right? So like, am I good enough for a person, for a job, for myself? Any of these things we have internally, these thought processes, and it's like, I thought that was such a powerful statement, hug the cactus, because it's giving an analogy of how tough it can be. Like, who the hell wants to hug a fucking cactus? I mean, pull needles out of you for a week. It's like getting sprayed by a skunk. It's like the two things I just rather not do in my life ever. But what an analogy. Like, he talks about hugging it, and the more time you spend there, come out with humility and character, and really come on the other side just a full-on better person when you embrace all that. So the ugliness, the stuff that you don't like by yourself, something that you think the other people might not like about you, all that kind of, yeah, go ahead.
Well, no, so I had no idea that's where this was going, and I love it. But what's coming up for me is like, in a lot of ancient tribes and all over the world that are not living in the civilized ways that we do, when they're still in tribe form, they go on their journey to become a man or whatever it is, and everyone does it differently. Some with tattoos in New Zealand, and but one, and I'll have to look up who it is, but they actually pierce their pectoralis muscles with tree branches and then hang from a tree to invoke their animal vision. And this is like an extreme version of hug the cactus, but in the way of, they have to face the worst pain of their life to get to the most authentic part of who they are alone on this journey, so that they can come from that going, I have put myself through the worst thing I could possibly imagine. And so nothing going forward could deter me or scare me or on some level. But I mean, extreme case. But I mean, I think that man has been searching for that type of thing, like hug the cactus. Yeah, who wants to hug the cactus? But at the same time, what if that was the price you could pay for like peace or freedom or
Right.
whatever it is, you know?
I mean, you're right. There's a whole bunch of different versions of this. I mean, there's the vow of silence, you know, not speaking for a month at all. I mean, there's things that we normally wouldn't think of at all, like wanting to do, but these things work because it invokes quiet time, peace, strength, fight or flight. It invokes these things in a heavy manner that flood you all at one time, not by choice, right? Like choosing this brings all this on and get to face it instead of us most of us live an avoidance lifestyle. Because no, you know, you don't want to look at bad stuff all the time. We're trying to do the best we can every day with our lives, period, and try to focus on the good. And we're told focus on the good and, you know, keep your head up and keep shoulders back and look at this guy. We're told all these things like, you know, just think of that. And to me, I get where it's coming from. Like, think about the positive, what you have, what you can be proud of, what you can be thankful for. But it's also a little bit of an avoidance mentality, which isn't good, as we know, for mental health. We don't want to bury things. We want to face them so we can get through them and get over them and then set them aside. Not that they weren't a part of us, but they're worked through, if you will. So he's talking about hugging this cactus, or Amber said, hanging from a tree branch from your nipples or something. Did you say? Was that the? And the guys that pierce their thingies too and carry buckets of water back to their village. I mean, I don't, you know, whatever you want to call it. I thought the cactus was appropriate for Instagram for someone to get kicked off. I didn't want to be hanging guys' nipples from a tree, but same thing, right? I mean, the same thing. It's facing the darkest part, the ugly version. I know for me, for a fact, avoidance was my weapon for sure. Like, if I thought I did anything that I felt guilty about, or I did wrong, which is a lot of things in my head, I would just pretend it wasn't happening, or it didn't happen, or I'm past, or I did it already. I'm over here. Instead of like embracing it. And I think when I started the Real Raw and Flawed podcast a couple years ago, that's the intention of that podcast, was to say openly out loud things that I can't take back. Like, post them to the internet and I can't take it back. It's out there. Like, I can be called on my shit. Somebody can listen to it and be like, that's bullshit, or I didn't know that, or any of it. And that was the exercise that was the process where it started, me not avoiding things, with me facing things and having the balls to say stuff out loud that I've done. And I don't necessarily, am not proud over some things I regret about, but putting them out in the space and like having, one, like some release to it, but two, having this like space of a little bit of pressure and anxiety of hitting enter and uploading it and it being there, and anybody can see it, like my vulnerability, like anybody knows it. So now I have to walk through the world differently, because then I can't fake my bullshit out there, because I've already said it factually on this media, right? So it's like I got to start walking a different path in my own life, because I'd be a hypocrite if I didn't. So that for me was like my hugging the cactus. It was fucking difficult. I mean, I intended doing something different from the start, but Amber joined me for a couple of them, the beginning ones, and I mean, I think the third one in, I discovered some shit about my life I didn't know was the truth. I mean, immediately she was like, "That didn't happen." I'm like, what the fuck are you talking about? That didn't happen. I've been telling that story for literally 38 years. She's like, "That's not, well, I don't know what to tell you. That's not how it happened." You know, it's like, whoa, what the fuck? Like, my whole life was, I use that story to, like, I don't know, invoke some kind of sympathy to people around me in my life, and to tell a narrative of like, oh fuck, you didn't have it as hard as me. Oh, like, listen to this story, but what even happened? It didn't even happen. It kind of blew my mind. So like the path of this whole thing went in a different direction, because long story short, went from, you know, I thought my dad had an overdose, drug overdose, and almost died open heart surgery after I was born, the year I was born. I told that story my whole life. And the truth is, it was before my mom and dad even decided to have me get back together and have me. So he dies on that table. I'm not here. I thought I was already alive. So like, what the fuck? Told that story forever and nobody corrected me. And I don't think it was Amber not correcting my mother. I don't think I ever told it to them. I was telling it to other people because that's what I thought happened. So anyway, as a side note there, but yeah, I think for me, this journey was about kind of hugging the cactus and facing it and having, is this going to be a little scary? And I know Amber went through it too with the book in a similar way. I think, unless you say otherwise, Amber, I think that's probably a version of your hugging the cactus. I mean, you get it done, we publish it, we put it in print form, it's a book, it's going to be out for sale. Okay, hold on a second. Do you want to give this to people? You know? Do you want all of it? And some like it felt good to get it out, but do you want everybody reading it? But I think that's a huge hug the cactus moment, because it's like, holy shit, here we go. I'm gonna hug it. I know what's coming. I know it's gonna be painful. I know that it's gonna take me weeks to get it out. Like I know, but I have to, right? And it takes a lot of fucking courage. Any
But like,
doing it.
but like that Will Smith video that we like so much, where he's getting ready to jump out of the plane and he's terrified of heights and he's terrified of flying and he's definitely terrified to jump out of the plane, and he's recording the whole thing and he's like, this is crazy, and like, you know, he's like going into panic attacks and everything, and then he does it and then he's like, holy crap, like it's the most terrifying thing in the entire world until you do it, and then you're floating and it's nothing. And even though in my ego, what I learned from hugging the cactus in my life in that particular moment was my ego was so involved in, holy cow, if I like really tell every single thing that's happened to me, all the things, you know, really, really, really be honest for the sake of, you know, humanity and writing
Right.
and truth or whatever, right?
Humanity.
To help others, the big humanitarian effort, like to people not to be alone, whatever. Okay, whatever I had to tell myself in order to share those secrets and those truths and those things that I was ashamed of and that shaped me in the wrong ways too, not just the right ways. And then, you know, I almost had a complete panic attack when I hit publish, and then nobody fucking cared anyway. Like, I mean, the people that care, but like
right.
nothing happened. Like, it's exactly what the Zen master says. Like, nothing's happening. It's all in our head. The story you created about dad before you were born, me and the book, like whatever it is that we're scared of is our construction. We construct every single moment of it. And it's not until sometimes we have to like call our own, you know, like BS, like in a way by doing it, that we go, oh, everything is happening and nothing is happening all at the exact same time, all the time, even at your most acute bleed out moment. Like it's also nothing. You know, like you're like, what?
It's a
but
big
it keeps us focused on then what does really matter, what is legacy, what, you know, and hug the cactus. Like, how about all the people that you don't want to necessarily pick up along the way that need your help, but you know you're being called to them to help them or whatever it is, or that's hugging the cactus too, like being called to serve and showing up for that service. You know, you don't want to do that every single fucking day in every single relationship in every single situation. And sometimes, you know, you want to be the one or whatever it is. There's like so many levels of hug the cactus. And I just love it. What a cool subject matter, really.
Yeah, I think the key thing you said there was we got to get out of our heads in that ego space of like thinking that we're so important that it's going to matter what we did or what we didn't do, right? I mean, billions of people on the planet are literally running parallel with you right now in the same exact story. It just looks different. Skin looks different. Your job looks different. You live in a different country, but the things in every human's head are the same. I believe that across the board. The struggle is for real for everybody. You know, I think one of the worst things we can do is assume that the people we look up to for some weird reason, don't go through the things we're going through. Right? We idolize people that we think, well, if I get there, then everything's fine. And it's quite the opposite. Because there's no human that escapes what's inside your brain. The battle you have to have with yourself every day to say, I'm good enough, I'm here, I'm okay with mistakes. The things that are always going to happen, you know, pain is always going to happen. You know, tragedy is always going to happen. There's going to be sorrow, there's going to be mistakes. It's inevitable. You cannot live life without it. It's not possible for anybody. You never get to a level where it's like, oh, I'm here, I hit the high score in this game. It's fucking over. You know, it's only over when you're gone. That's it. So the time that we have here, we need to stop waiting around for something to show up for us, or a certain age, or a time, or when my kids grow up and go to college, or when they're out of the house, or once we get retirement, or once we do this, or once we're always waiting and putting this aside, like this internal thing aside. You know, it so much reminds me of my mother, because she was like selfless in every way. All she ever did was like, you first, you first, you first, then I'll eat. Like, you eat, then I'll eat. You first, then I'll sleep. You know, and she was like that with everybody. And it sounded sad to me for a long time, because she never put anything for herself. She didn't put herself first. I felt like she gave up a lot of her life, but for some, she figured it the fuck out. Like, she figured out to handle both and be really happy internally. That's what made her such a great woman. So I think that we got to stop waiting to hug the cactus. I think we got to embrace every time we can, anytime we can. Show true vulnerability to our loved ones around us, our kids. Teach people different. Show them different.
So let's have
white glove.
so let's have a roundtable discussion. Like, what's everybody's cactus right now? I mean, it probably changes throughout life. Anybody got a cactus right now?
I have a cactus.
Let's go.
What's your cactus?
It's not addiction, but it's for self-growth. I'm trying to work on it. So I have a hard time understanding the space between a stimuli and then reacting. So taking a pause, understanding what happened without reacting and maybe saying the wrong thing. So I'm really trying to work on that.
So,
Well, so if you hug the cactus, what would that mean for you in this scenario, though?
So it would mean facing that, like facing the fact that maybe I should understand that the things that I've done in the past, or the things that I've said that are hurtful in the past, there's nothing I can do to change that. So that's me hugging the cactus, but then trying to change it going forward.
Like letting go of the regret, but change it going forward.
Yes. Mm-hmm.
I like that. That's a
Yeah.
that's a key one, I think, for I can relate to that for sure. I don't know if anybody else can. I can relate to reactivity. Like, I'm a very reactive person. When I was, trying to go out there, hunt and grow my business, I became reactive instead of really, like, now I listen more and try to understand and get on the other side of the situation, have some empathy towards who I'm speaking to, understand the other person, the other end of the phone that I'm yelling at is just a person, and they really have nothing to do with the problem.
For me, it's more when I get hurt in any scenario, right? Whether it's like a significant other or a brother, a sister, whoever. If I'm hurt, then, I care a lot, and it typically comes out the wrong way. And so instead of just taking a pause and understanding and then responding, I'm reacting versus responding. So that's kind of what I'm working on right now. But I feel like knowing that I jump really quickly is kind of the first step in trying to change it. So
I like that. I think I like what you said. You started with, it's not an addiction, something like that. But I think everything's parallel. Like, whatever it is to us, it's as serious as that guy going through it. My dad had heroin addiction, or, I mean, I think it's level playing grounds, what it is for you. I mean, that can sound like, oh, that just doesn't seem too hard to get over, Gary, to me. But to
Right.
you, it might sound like addiction when it's come out of your mouth. It might sound as difficult as that, which is, I think it was super important when we speak in something out loud, is to know that somebody else's version doesn't have to sound really tough to you. It just has to have them being honest and vulnerable about it because it's tough for them. Right. And I think that's a huge thing for us to be listening to each other about, like, because it doesn't seem like a fault or a toughness to you, or it's like, oh, that doesn't seem too bad. That doesn't mean that somebody's not suffering from it every day. Like, there's a lot of quiet suffering in this country today, and super unfortunate. And a lot of people feel comfortable even being in a space like this amongst people that they're friends with or have history with, to say things that are vulnerable. A lot of times that's where you don't say anything, the ones that are closest to you, because you have the longest like timeline of you. So like, you over here telling your friends shit that are like, you know, a couple years friends, like you're telling them shit, but you don't even tell my sister. A lot of times we didn't talk forever about anything serious for years. But like, there's nothing I don't tell her now. Nothing. Like, we talk for hours when we get on the phones, like, because I know that she understands my level of speaking, and vice versa. So it's like, I avoided that for years because she's my sister. I'm gonna tell her fucking shit. You know, I'm gonna tell my dad stuff. I'm gonna tell my mom stuff. It's like, those are the people that truly we should be talking to, because they care the most, truly. And sometimes they're not gonna have the answer. Sometimes they're gonna be an asshole or annoying, or, you know, not quite understand you. That's great, but most of the part is getting it out of your mouth. Is most of the part, and being vulnerable for somebody in front of somebody that does know you. Like,
Well, I like that you're opening up the conversation, like, you know, worldwide or whatever, whoever will ever hear this, and you know, the shores that it'll meet. But to, you know, we're used to the things we kind of grew up with as far as being the no-nos, right? Like addiction or alcoholism or narcissism or cheating or whatever. The main ones that were on all the talk shows for the most part was where we learned,
yeah.
right? But like opening it up to the bigger conversation, like reactivity, expectations, ego, what's important in relationships, what are we trying to prove, what do we actually want now, can we construct any kind of relationship we want now if we have a willing partner or whatever it is. And just to your point, Carrie, I will tell you that you're on the brink of, I feel like you're like a little bit younger than me, but brink of the next generation, the next chapter of your life is the unapologetic Carrie, as far as like, you know, my entire life from the time I hit puberty, my mom says I was perfect till I was 12. And then so I hit puberty, I went absolutely insane.
You're
like truly
insane.
I just felt entitled, and I felt so connected to everyone, but I didn't have the language, or I didn't understand how to like say it all or do it all. But I felt like, well, you have to know, it's my obligation to tell the world and tell each individual person exactly what I'm feeling and thinking, because obviously they're too short-sighted to see it, and you know, whatever I was justifying all the bullshit with. And then it became more and more just in my, you know, private relationships and things like that. But I reacted to everything and felt entitled to do so, and felt healthy in doing so, and felt justified in all those things. And I will tell you, at some point in my 30s, and I don't exactly remember at this moment when it was, but when I let go of reaction and truly like jumped into the river instead of trying to control the flow of it, and just floated down the river and like let the river do the work, guess what? With or without me or you or any of us here, any moment at any time, like life goes on. The forest, the river, the lake, like it all just keeps going. And yes, we add something to it, a little pink flower floating down, or, you know, whatever it is. But our reaction is really meaningless unless it's meaningful. And so when we react to get our point across, or to, mine was to eat faces. Like I was like, you're gonna, like you, I was like, you're gonna hurt me when I'm the most loving, wonderful person in the entire world. You're gonna hurt me. Well, guess what? I'm gonna steal your soul now. You know, like, you know, like I'm gonna teach you what happens when you hurt somebody good or whatever it is. And it's like, what a waste of fucking time and energy. Excuse my French, but I wasted so much energy reacting to bullshit and things that just are none of my business. Like, I don't care what anybody thinks of me. I don't care what anybody else is doing or what their choices are, whatever, as long as it's not affecting me negatively. And if it is affecting me negatively, I probably let it in. I'm the one choosing this. I'm the one creating. The reason I even want to react to someone is because I put him in my life, so I couldn't react to him. Like,
Yeah.
you know what I mean? So ultimately, it's all mine.
Let's
I
say
eliminate-
something on that, Amber.
Yeah.
Because something just came up, and you don't have to say it, but we just had a conversation. You know what I'm talking about? That challenged you in that situation of who you used to be.
With the board?
Yeah. So I mean, you now knowing you can catch yourself, know it, see it, similar to
Yeah.
what Carrie's talking about. But you saw yourself getting, oh shit, I'm going
All the
down
scenarios.
this thing. I could fucking burn that place down. Like, but
Yeah.
what's the difference? So tell me your cactus. Is that part of it? Your
So
cactus
yeah,
today?
so like it took me to realize that I'm actually more powerful and I can live with myself and have more integrity and better health in all ways, mentally, physically, spiritually, when I do the right thing anyway, and I don't react, I don't teach anybody a lesson, and I don't write a scathing 8-page email trying to teach them how to do their own fucking life or something. Like, when it doesn't matter, it only matters to me and only makes me look like crazier. And I just removed myself from the situation. I took ego out of it. I resigned from a board that I was on. It's really important to me. But in the past, I would have, white knuckled it over that fence and bled to prove that I not only am going to stay on the board and irritate the fuck out of all of you, but I'm going to prove that I'm right because I hate you. And then I was thinking, like, how is any of that serving my life at all? Yes, I'm at a point in my life where I am capable of anything. I can burn the house down. I can expose everybody. I am not smarter from ego, but because I'm connected, because I've done different work than these like corporate zombie fuckers that are on, that I have to deal with, I do have an advantage over them that they don't even know I have. And it's because they don't know the audience, but I know the audience. And so, you know what? I don't want to be like you. I don't need to be like you. I don't need to do what I do. I don't have to be with you to do what I do. So I'm going to remove myself. You guys deal with each other. And I don't know, it was a huge moment for me in my life because I kind of did the opposite of what I've always done. And guess what? I talked to my girlfriends about it in life too. Like, I don't miss reacting. Like, I mourned it for a while, for like a year or two. I literally mourned reacting. I was like, remember when I used to react? Even my brother was like, what the fuck? Seriously, you're not even gonna say anything now? Like, I said something my whole life, and like when it counts, I guess now, I'm just like not saying anything. And it's just because I've taken myself out of the fight. That doesn't mean I won't stand up for myself or someone else, or that I won't speak when it is important. If I have to, in a different way. But I'm not just like looking for the fight to vindicate something in me anymore. And I'm conserving precious energy for things that bring me joy rather than
I was just gonna say you're like
more
channeling
chaos.
you're channeling your energy in a positive way that's gonna be self-serving to you.
And by all
Instead of
means,
burning the house
that's
down.
just one tiny cactus in my life.
That's just a piece of the arm of a cactus that I'm trying to hug. Right. This is a big fucking cactus. I got a lot of hugging. Anybody else have a cactus right now that's on their mind, or something that hugging the cactus? Jason, Portia, Laura, anybody have something that's something you want to face at the moment? Okay, you want me to? I'll keep talking. I think what's important about it too is, I think in the hugging the cactus part, we speak on this all the time, is like having the right people supporting you while you're doing something like this too. So, I know when I started, my hugging the cactus was starting the podcast and this real raw flawed thing, and like being outspoken and vulnerable. knowing I was going to get some backlash for it, knowing I was going to get some judgment for it, knowing that I couldn't hide from it once it's out. But I think a big part of it is making sure that you have at least someone. It only needs to be one. If you have more, great. At least you have someone that's got your back in the growth, that's got your back, that believes in you, it's on your fucking team about it. Like when I started it, I started it. This is gonna sound fucking ridiculous. I started it because I wanted to go on this journey of growth and wanted to stop fucking hiding behind shit and like lying to myself. But if I'm being 100% honest, when I started, my ego was like, I'm gonna make this a fucking huge thing. Like I was gonna make it something, not focusing on what it was gonna do for me, like a therapy session. I was like fucking already in the business mind of focusing. I'm just gonna turn this into something. I can like, you know, and I got ahead of myself, and luckily Amber was right there during the whole thing, me kind of talking through ideas like I always do. I always tell her, and she was like, I don't know if you should, are you ready to do that right now? Because I mean, do you know what it means, what you're saying? And I was so in business mode, I was like, yo, fuck everybody, man. Like, no, yeah, fuck everybody. I'm doing this. Like, I don't care if it comes out of my mouth, it's coming out. And she's like, I would just take a breath on the whole idea. I think it's great.
Do you have a
But
therapist?
But let's like talk it out about how you're gonna do this, because you don't go in attack mode. You want to use it as what I intended to be as, right? Like release from me, speaking out loud, getting negative shit out of my body, telling the truth for fucking change. It wasn't like I was a pathological liar or anything. I just lied to myself a lot. And I lied to other people. I lied to myself all the time. So I created a different version of myself that people got to interact with. So in turn, I was lying to them. You understand what I'm saying? Because I was lying to myself so deeply, was turning myself into somebody else that presented to them. And then that became a lie. Because it was part of my lie, creating my own reality. And you know, when I first started, it was like, I'm gonna fucking create my own reality about me. And you know, so I'm just, long story to say, have somebody that you ride or die with you, like got your back 100%, is on your journey with you, somebody you speak to like this, like we speak to each other, because it's so easy to fall into isolation and moments of depression, moments of down. It's so easy. When I say it's so fucking easy for everybody on this planet to fall down and get stuck in that thought, right? It's so easy to worm your way down this little fucking rabbit hole, and you wake up and 3 days have gone by, like quite literally.
And also, as we're getting older, it gets scarier because you think, depression's kind of a thing of youth. And then as we get older, we think, oh my God, like, did another relationship just fail? Whether that's a friendship or a family or a lover or whatever, or did something else go wrong or whatever? And we forget to remind ourselves, like we do in this group, that all the rejections are protection, that we're still on our journey, that thing that ended didn't define us, but we get caught in these little moments of self-doubt that we think, how could I be this age or this whatever and this still be happening or whatever? And it's okay, because every moment, if you're still learning, if you're still looking, and if you're still trying to connect and have witness, then you're perfect. Like,
right,
you're on the journey. If you're on a river, there's lots of bends.
Yeah. Always have somebody in support of you. I've told Amber this several times. My marriage, I didn't feel like I was, in my own marriage, I didn't feel like I was supported in that way, that I could say, I couldn't have the same conversation I have with my sister, my wife. And that's nothing to say about her. It's nothing to blame on her. It's again, I created my own reality of who I wanted to be and what person in my life needed to be or was too. I was creating these things. So I can't complain about it. I'm just saying I built that. You know, I built a space that I thought was healthy and good because I was doing good, but I was just building who I wanted around me to protect, not going there, not hugging the cactus. I wanted to fucking have a circle around me so that I couldn't get near a cactus. Like they blocked it around me. And I was, you know, soldiering them, like, you stand here, you stand here, you stand here. And it's just it's ridiculous because the field that I was in and I was growing was, it's like such the contradiction of what I was like actually doing in my life. I was helping all these people and all my clients and, you know, being honest with them and their stuff and helping them in such a good way. And I was fucking lying to myself over here about it and then building this wall around me and trap doors and escape routes and all this shit, just so I wouldn't have to get near a cactus. You know what I mean? Like I knew every other exit. But I also didn't have somebody close. So I said that about my wife because I didn't build anybody close to me enough to listen to my real thoughts and have them say, what the fuck are you talking about? Like just something simple like that. I'm the type of person that needs to hear that. Like, what the fuck are you talking about? Pump, you know, back it up a minute. And Amber's done that for me. That's what Amber's been doing for me for a long time. And not in those words. She never says it like that, but she always checks the idea or if we're in a thought. Or sometimes she says nothing. I just talk it through to her and I know she's listening. And then I fucking hear myself. Like, what are you doing? I get off the phone. I'm like, that was a fucking 40 minutes of a rant of something I'll never do. So I'm saying all this just, I'm not saying anybody's going through the same stuff, but or on here or anywhere, but I know that we know a lot of people that don't come to these things in our lives, individual lives, that don't need us to therapize them, but need us. You know, it's important that we're doing this stuff and we're here for each other, but it's important that we model it in some way that doesn't sound preachy or we're trying to therapize them or we're at some better, higher level of growth than they don't understand. So we're going to help you. Because the truth is, you know, going right back to the beginning of the story, that Robert Downey Jr.'s story was after all that, he got clean. Mel gave him a job, put food on the table, like supported him through the whole thing. Got his career back. He becomes a fucking mega superstar, gets a lifetime achievement award, has Mel introduce him. He picked the introducing guy, has Mel introduce him. And when he gets up there, he said, I had Mel introduce me because I want to tell this story. He did all this for me. He did all this for me. And it was during the time that Mel was going through all that shit in the news. People were calling him crazy. He was fucking nuts. Robert brings him on the stage, has him announce him, and then says at the end, after his whole story of my drug abuse, all that stuff, says at the end, I want everybody in this room, unless you think you're free of sin, which is if you think you are, you're a fucking liar in Hollywood, because nobody in this room is. Everybody needs to come together right now and forgive this man. It's done. It's over. Forgive this man. So he like just flipped the whole thing on its head, right? Like that's a big portion of it. Like who's been there for you? Who reached back and pulled you up? Don't forget that. You don't have to pull them up, but somebody needs your help. Somebody needs a hand. Somebody needs a fucking lift up. Somebody needs a conversation or a text. Somebody needs a drop by. Somebody needs a couple bucks. We got to make sure that we don't get ahead of ourselves because people helped us up and we poached ourselves on their back. And now we're not looking backwards to make sure that nobody's behind us. Always look back, reach down, grab somebody, pull them up. It takes nothing from us to really prop somebody up in their life. Words are huge. Doesn't have to buy anybody anything. You have to. Words are huge. Communication, time. This time, we've all shared that this time is huge to us. If I miss a Monday, my week is different. That's why it means so much to me. When I have to miss for something, my week is different. I'm telling you, it's just not the same. It's not as productive. I'm not ready for the week. This stuff is important to me. I know it is, and I know you guys mentioned it too. So, I want to just give everybody a few minutes to, if there's anything else, this doesn't have to be this topic, anything on anybody's mind that they just want to share or let out or.
I just want to know I want to know when Jason's going to hug the cactus and take his wife salsa dancing for lessons or something fun.
Salsa? Chips?
I don't know. I was just thinking of something sexy they could do together.
Ooh, cause it's spicy, salsa spicy.
Yeah, yeah.
Okay.
I'll have to think about it. She's right here, so she's over here on the
What?
couch listening.
Oh, is that why you're smiling already? All right.
Okay, well, just
Um,
putting it out there.
Yeah, look. Like I said, it doesn't, the stuff I come up with is usually just my brain for the week. I was driving, I saw a cactus, thought about this thing I watched, turns into a conversation, but I always want to make sure that you guys just can say whatever you want too. I mean, it doesn't have to be anything about the hugging the cactus or hanging from a tree from your nipples. It doesn't really matter. That I'm not gonna get out of my head for a minute. Like, that just sound, I mean, I'd hug a cactus 100 times before I hung from a tree my nipples. Fuck that.
I'm gonna find the article about the tribe that evokes the fish
Don't
animal,
send it to
okay?
me. But yeah, Horse, you got anything on your mind? What's up with you? I know you always got something. Give me a nugget. What do you got on your
What's
mind?
up with me? You
Yeah,
know,
what-
I guess I was just like thinking about you guys were all talking about resistance,
Yeah.
you know, and I think about when you're triggered in that moment, you know, who is that person to you, right? Because it's not actually the person that you're being triggered by, it's something from your past, right? It's an old experience and it's being replayed again, right? And you're being put back into that experience. And so I just think like allowing yourself, like you said, Carrie, I have to pause and then like get curious on where that could have come from, right? Like when did that start in your life?
Right.
You know, and then that's because I think that's really where the healing piece comes in, when I can finally say like, oh, okay, you know what, that interaction just reminded me of my dad, or you know, my mom when I was 10 years old, or and then that's kind of like now I can see why I did that, and then I can let it go, right? And so I think it's just a little bit more, it just takes it a little bit deeper to say like, okay, who is this person being to me right now? Like, what is this, what really is the experience? Because it's not really about, I am not really getting hurt by them. I'm getting hurt by an experience from my past, right? And it's like the inner child is still something lingering. So like, I think about that and I think like, yeah, if you find yourself always in resistance, where do you feel it in your body? You know, like I think where it's not just enough to say it's my ego. It's not, it's just because it'll never, I guess what I'm trying to say is like, it'll never go away. Even if we're
Right,
trying to say like, it's just my ego, it's something more, right? It's something deeper inside you that is asking you to heal it, to get curious and say like, okay, why does that person make me feel that way, right? Because no one can make you feel a certain way. You feel that way because there's something inside of you that is expressing that experience. It's familiar to you.
I totally agree with you.
Yeah, I love
And
it.
so
So
like,
much sense.
Well said.
so I
that
think
is
like,
the thing, man.
yeah. And I just think, because I think for me, it's like, how can we always take it to a deeper layer to really get to the root of why we're doing what we're doing as adults?
Mhm.
You know, where did it come from? Where did it start? And then just and all of it is just really just allowing yourself. It's just, you're going to get it. It's not about getting it right or wrong. You're just allowing it to happen. Then you catch yourself. And the more you catch yourself in it, the easier it gets. And then you're like, okay, now I can see where this came from, why I started acting that way in the first place. And then I think it truly is able to say, okay, I can let it go. I can heal it and let it go.
I
It's
love
like
that. Yeah, go ahead, Carrie.
it's like when they say you got to feel it to heal it.
Yeah.
It's just it's cliche, but I mean it's so true. You really have to not only feel it, but figure out where it's coming from and why, and what past experience, like you said, has happened And if it does continue to come up over and over, then absolutely it has way more to do with you than any person that's presenting that to you.
And why am I inviting that person in my life that's bringing on this childhood or whatever experience? And I love that you went that extra layer, Portia, because you're right. Because especially this group or people like us, I think that the word ego gets thrown around, but really that's because we feel bad when we have to even think about ourselves in that way, even though we're practicing self-love. And so it feels whenever it's about us or it has to be turned back to us, that then I don't want to feel that. I don't want to feel bad for worrying about myself because I'm so used to, right, distracting and worrying about others. But when you do break it down, the reason it's familiar and we're attracting it in is because it is an old imprint. And I just love that you said that. And it's so important. And the other side that we talk about all the time in this group is, 90% of what comes out of anyone's mouth is a projection of their wants, needs, or experiences too. So whatever we're saying or talking at someone or reacting, really, again, we're reliving some trauma or some trying to get a different answer than we've gotten in the past on those subject matter. So I just love that. It was so well said.
Yeah,
Yeah.
that's great insight there, Portia. I mean, it's an important thing for us to break down our processes. I think for all of us, we always talk about, like, we can talk about the world's problems, we can talk about our problems, but what are we doing about it? How do we do things about it? What's the application process? Right. Like, and you broke it down really good there. I mean, giving the breath, like Carrie says, talking about finding where is it coming from in my body, my mind. Is it hooked to something in my past, or is it just this person? Going through the process to find that out so you can curve it for the next time or cut it where it stops it in its tracks right there. So it's really interesting to dig into, like, not only talking about what we talk about, but like, what's the process? How do we fix the things that are happening? How do we attack them so that they're less invasive in our life the next time it comes up? Because we know, right? We all know that it's coming again.
Yeah.
It's a different
You know what I
version
think
of
of? You know what I think of too? Like, this is forgiveness, right? Because as soon as you figure out, okay, this experience is going to keep being repeated to me until I decide to no longer allow it to trigger me, right? So I think it's also an invitation of forgiveness, something from your past that's asking you to forgive it and to meet it with the love that maybe it never was met with. Or like if you're in a room or a conversation and someone makes you feel a certain way, like, I don't feel loved, or I don't feel appreciated, or I don't feel right. I think we have to come back to ourselves. And that could also be an invitation of saying, where am I not giving that to myself?
Totally.
Right.
Yeah. I think I like that word, invitation. I mean, we always say opportunity. I love to see opportunity in anything that happens to me.
Yeah.
Good or bad, but I like the invitation. I mean, I think it's, when I'm talking about my relationship with my God, it's always like, am I being constantly tested? And I like that better. It's an invitation to look at it again.
Yeah.
Just giving you another invitation. Here you go. It's happening again. Take a look.
Yep.
Remember this?
Yeah.
In front of
You
you.
could
Remember
get a
this?
million.
Are you going to show up this time to the date?
Right.
Yeah.
Right.
This is an invitation with a date on it. You're supposed to show up to it.
I've got
Here it
another
is.
one planned
I'm
if
gonna
you're
keep
not
sending
ready.
you and changing the date so you can fucking show up.
Right.
So I love that. That's a good one. I'm gonna use that more often because it is just an opportunity invitation. It's presented to you like, here it is again. This is our cycle. A lot of us that we're trying to break something we talk about it's happening over and over because we're allowing it to.
Right.
But we have to take some personal responsibility and hug that cactus
Yeah.
to know that, like, yo, I gotta face my shit too, my responsibility in this, allowing it to happen over. I'm keep on getting it presented to me and I keep making the same decision.
Right. See everyone as your teacher too, right? Like, what am I supposed to learn in this experience? When you find yourself getting like tense or you feel sad, or you feel this grief, or you feel anger, like, where is that coming from? Right. And it there's always some kind of deeper root to that. And it's,
love that.
I think, what am I supposed to learn from this? Right.
Always.
And just like you said, okay, this is the invitation. And
Show up.
yeah,
That's
what can
why
I
we
learn?
send
So
them. That's why
Harold,
we send them
no,
out. If you have a wedding, I expect you to RSVP and show up. Right? Like, here's your invitation. You're a sick fuck. Here's your invitation. Show up to it and fix it. Right? That's the show up time.
should we just tell them real quick before we wrap it up, Mike? So when so what he asked me to share about with the board and resigning from the board, this whole thing or whatever. So I literally, it took me an entire week to edit down my 8-page response to what was going on before I even resigned. Like that was the resignation was like at the end, kind of like drop the mic. Like that was like the last 2 sentences of a scathing 8-page letter to tell them all how to do their jobs or whatever, you know? And I literally, for a week straight, I almost couldn't even speak to Jay or anyone or do anything other than go to work and come home and sit in front of this letter because I was, and it was this battle with myself of like, say it, don't say it, what's important, what's not important, you know, this whole thing, back and forth, right? And so I finally get it down to like 2 paragraphs. Like through the week, I was letting little by little by little, I was letting things go. Like, you don't need to say that. And you don't need to do that. You don't need to say this person's name or that, or any, just, you know, and delete. I'm editing it all week long down to like 2 paragraphs from like 8 pages, literally, which I can write in 3 seconds. You know what I mean? When I'm upset, when I'm reactive. Long story short, I shorten it, I resign, I send it 45 minutes before my last board meeting ever that I'm putting in this letter. And then I go to the board meeting. So I know only a couple people got it. Some people didn't, you know, there's going to be a hush. There's, you know, whatever. Felt pretty good about the whole thing. Came home, called Michael immediately when I got in the car, was kind of still venting about it a little bit. Like I was just a teapot on simmer. I wasn't like still mad, but I was still just kind of like, fuck these motherfuckers, fuck them, you know, whatever. Okay. I literally, we get off I talk to him for like 45 minutes. I'm feeling better about it. I get home, do a couple things. I'm getting ready for bed. He's on his way now. He's, you know, in California. I'm in New York. So our hours are different. So he's still like dinner time mode and I'm getting ready for bed. All of a sudden, just out of the freaking blue, on the international headquarters page of the organization I work for, there's a job listing on the night I resigned for the job that is the boss of all of the assholes. And I could literally like be that person. So I applied for it just for that because it literally just shot up like right after I made the right decision. Like it was just in front of me out of nowhere. I didn't go looking for it. I wasn't on a job site. Like I have a job, like I have 3 jobs, like whatever. But I had to call Michael. I had to call Michael like 45, like an hour later, whatever. I was just like, hey. And he, like, after we've talked for like, we're saturated, we've talked for like an hour in a day or something, you know, he thinks it's either an emergency or like, what's going on? You know, something good, you know, juicy or something. I was just like, I just had to share this with you that after all that, I freaking turn on my computer and the first thing on it is this thing. And I applied. And he goes, and I hope that you also feel that instead of going in and burning it all down, you would just make them do the model that you know is the road to success anyway, and not like let anyone go, burning house down, whatever. I was like, of course. He's like, I needed to hear that because I'm in this moment right now at a church group and synchronicity and like the signs and the moments. And I unlocked a level of Zelda in that moment, you know, and it doesn't matter if I take the job or not. It's just that I was taught that it's all right there for the taking, like at all times.
The universe served you.
Depending on what I'm looking at or for.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
That was that was the full.
That was the invitation.
That was the full invitation because if you get that job, the point is you spent a week.
I'm doing something
fired
okay
up
in
to tell
life.
these people how to do their job. Yeah.
Right.
But if you get the job, truly what you want to do is empower them to the model. And
teach them to believe in people that are not them.
Yeah.
Right, exactly.
Yeah. It's bigger than us, but it's funny that it's, you know, a week. That's what I'm saying. This is, I think, a perfect example. a week she stewed on this thing. Like this is what we do to ourselves. We spend time on shit that doesn't fucking matter.
Yeah.
The bigger scheme of things. Now
Yeah.
you can protect yourself, all that. Never stand down, always stand up for yourself. But there's some things that just don't fucking matter. Do what
No.
you do well, do it for other people, show up for people that care about you, you care back to them. Everything else is a piece of matter in this fucking universe that doesn't matter. It's fucking dust. It's moon dust that sprinkles off at night. It's nothing. But we do this to ourselves. We find ourselves right here in this fucking deep, weird guilt spiral toilet bowl. Flushing around. It's just,
I
That
have
must be our East Coast mentality. I don't know. I mean, I know you.
well,
I
we
have
don't-
a- I have
we
a
don't
thought.
have a whole lot, yeah.
I have a thought,
Yeah.
like Amber, like invite yourself to think about why you feel like you need to over explain everything, right? Like maybe you never felt heard.
Oh, I mean,
Right?
hello. I mean, all
So
three of
that's-
you have read the book. Like, I was screaming at my mother when I would come
Right.
home from a Shakespeare play because I was just like, "Why can't you hear me?" And it was like I was speaking in Chinese. It wasn't that she couldn't hear me, but I felt misunderstood. And
You felt, right, you felt it, and
that's
you're
my
still
old
feeling it.
baby
You're still
crap.
feeling it, right? And you felt that way on the board, right? And so now you
Well,
can
because
say,
they
okay,
were all like the principal of your school when you're in second grade.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like it's an oppressive that you still can have those triggers in life because we live in a weird false ego society and people
Right.
think that if they have a suit on or they have whatever it is they think they fucking have that somehow they're better. And it's like, I know they're not. Like that's the point. That's sometimes why I felt the need to over explain. Whereas I feel I guess I still do it, but I don't do it in the way that I once did. It doesn't. It's not
Well,
the same
well,
amount of energy expenditure.
Here's the whole umbrella about it. It doesn't matter where we came from and how far we've come. Things that are deep rooted constantly will pop up, and it's just how do we navigate them when they pop up, and how much of us does it take from us?
right.
Where something would take, months, and I'm in this fucking hole of my mind, like pushing me back and holding me back, where now it takes minutes when I come across something, right? Like, so the point is, I've witnessed my sister my whole life, and I would tell you that, her saying it took her a week to brew on that is fucking massive accomplishment, because it's like, I know what it used to be, right? I know that she would care so deeply about something or somebody that it would take her
I
over.
couldn't let it go.
She couldn't let it go. It
No.
was, and some of it would sit in a moment, but then we saw each other again in a year. It would like it never, right? So like, I think the whole point is for all of us is like, whatever we're doing to grow and get better at the thing, like Portia was talking about, like where is it coming from? Is to know. I think it's always better to know that we're never going to perfect it. There's nothing about getting rid of something complete. It's gonna pop up. The brain works like this. Trauma sits. It'll fucking come racing to the front, and you have no control over it when something pops. But when it's there, what do you do? Right now, what do we do? Carrie mentioned, like, I want to be less reactive. Of course, like, where's it coming from? Amber, same thing. I was more of like, I tore everybody else's head off, not my close ones. That fucking somebody didn't ship the thing on time. I'm tearing the whole, like, everybody's on the phone. Put everybody's boss on the phone right now. Everybody's boss on the phone right now. I don't care. Oh, you're the boss? Who's your boss? Like, I don't have one. Put him on the phone. And it got me nowhere. Like, it didn't truly get me anywhere. It wasted a lot of my time on the phone, is what it did at work. And I just destroyed somebody that, probably doesn't work there anymore and didn't care about their job anyway. Got off the phone, went home, and then brought that home to their family and brought that energy somewhere else. And I'm like, dude, negative chains go deeper than it. The negative chain goes way further because a lot more people are in that state already. So it likes company. When we send positive messages out, some people don't want to hear it at the moment. So it takes a little longer to deep root that. So we have to try harder. But
And we're
negative
gonna be
goes far
continually
from-
triggered to test where we are all
Totally.
through our life. Like the less we react, the more at peace we are. Like when the Buddha is happy with the mosquitoes biting him, nonetheless, like that's the point of enlightenment. It's that when we're unaffected by all the things that will constantly continue to try to get us,
Yeah,
hopefully then we get there, you know, little by little.
I love it. Well, I appreciate you
I
guys
love
talking to
you
Cactus with me
guys.
tonight. Hope everybody's not pricked up from the conversation, but I hope you guys had a great weekend. I had a long weekend. I'm going to bed right now. Just
Oh, that
to
sounds
finish
good.
off.
I'm gonna go to bed
I'm
too.
going to bed right now.
I was up way too late last night watching that game.
Yeah. Wow.
For the ending that it had. So
It's crazy
sad.
because it ends so early here. And
Oh,
everybody's
that's
out.
true.
Like it ends at 8. It was like over 8, and then everybody's out. And it's just like, and I drove 6 hours home. I'm ready. I'm ready to be done with it.
Amber, remember football in Hawaii? It was
Yeah.
keg and egg,
Yeah.
6 in the morning.
Everything was totally different there, man. You couldn't call anybody at home to tell them what was going on because heaven forbid they missed it or whatever.
Yes, so true.
We
It's
got
so
it
fun.
first.
Yeah, 6 a.m.
Happy
football.
Valentine's Day, everyone.
Yeah,
Yep.
happy Valentine's Day.
Give yourself a big hug and kiss.
Yeah, write
Yeah.
yourself. You make yourself one of those cards you did in 4th grade.
Yep.
My
Right.
kids made me cards. I made
Oh,
them make me
perfect.
cards. I said, we're all
I
having
made,
a craft
I made
day.
them.
Go
Go
sit
to your
and
room and
make
make me a nice card.
I literally was like, you have friends over, you guys need another activity because you guys are fighting. Go make the mommy's cards.
Oh, make me a nice card right now. Say nice things about me now. I love you. All right, I love you guys.
Love
Have a
y'all.
good
Bye
night and a better
guys.
week.
Love you
Bye, guys.
guys.
Good
Bye.
night.